वही सर का आईडी क्या होगा, वो आइडिया है तुम्हें?
तो प्रेम प्रकाश नाम से ही है भैया।
मतलब वही होगा ना एंट्री का नाम भी?
हाँ हाँ, प्रेम प्रकाश ही होगा।
ओके ओके। ओके कलाई।
भैया मुस्कान और रेवती को लिंक भेज दूँ, कोई बार चेक कर लेंगे कैमरा वगैरह, वो एंकरिंग कर रहे हैं।
उनको इन करना है?
हाँ, उन दोनों को करना है, वो दोनों एंकरिंग कर रहे हैं ना, इसलिए।
हाँ हाँ, लिंक भेज दो उन्हें, एंट्री कर लेते हैं।
ठीक।
क्योंकि कैमरा और ऑडियो भी एक बार सेट कर लेना है ना।
हाँ हाँ, इसीलिए।
वीडियो सही है?
हाँ मुस्कान ठीक है।
ठीक।
A very good evening, everyone. We'll be starting shortly.
Hello.
Audience, please make sure you do not switch your mics on. If you have any query, then please type it in the chat box later on. But please do not switch your mics on. Audience, I hope you're aware that the topic of the session is life after selection, challenges before a civil service. So it would be the best if you ask queries related to the topic.
Well, hello everybody. I'm Prem Prakash Meena, IAS 2018 batch. Would you want to start the session? Maybe we should go ahead.
Yes sir, sure. कुछ कर गुजरने के लिए मौसम नहीं मन चाहिए, साधन सभी जुट जाएंगे, संकल्प का धन चाहिए. With this, a very wonderful good evening to one and all present here. Today I am Muskan, along with my co-anchor Revati, welcome you all to this session. And it gives me immense pleasure to introduce you all to the speaker of this session, SDM Chandauli, Uttar Pradesh, Mr. Prem Prakash Meena. He is the real definition of a hardworking and determined soul. From a mechanical engineer to an IAS officer, his journey was full of ups and downs. Sir, in his first attempt, cracked the exam with AIR 969 and got IRS. But he didn't stop there. In his second attempt, he cleared the exam with flying colors and bagged AIR 102 in UPSC CSE 2017. And today he is here to familiarize us with the life of an IAS officer, the challenges and the dilemmas faced by them. And now I invite Sir to enlighten us. And I also request all the participants to please mute themselves to maintain the decorum of the session. Thank you and welcome, Sir. Sir, you are on mute.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Muskan. I truly appreciate every one of you for letting me have the opportunity to interact with you all guys. Well, just a little introduction about me. My name is Prem Prakash Meena. I'm a 2018 batch of IAS officer. Well, I belong to a district called Alwar, very close to Delhi, from Rajasthan. And as Muskan said, my first attempt was IRS income tax and second attempt was IAS proper with UP Cadre. Chandauli, which is very close to Banaras or Varanasi, or even to Bihar, this is exactly where UP ends and Jharkhand and Bihar starts, is my third posting. I mean, third district. The first one was a district called Basti, very close to Gorakhpur. Second one was Hathras. And the third one has been Chandauli. For last 6 months or so, I have been posted in Chandauli as Joint Magistrate or SDM Chandauli. I'm a mechanical engineer. Before I joined services, I had the opportunity to work abroad for almost 9 years in different capacities across the globe for a number of different multinationals, including British Petroleum, Shell International, Schlumberger, etc., etc. And I did have the opportunity to travel 20 plus countries and stay in more than 6 countries. My last place of posting before I switched to services was Azerbaijan, Russia. Before that, I was in the US, London, Holland, Dubai, Australia, Nigeria, Ghana, and a few other places too. So that's pretty much about me. This is my 5th SE, and I have completed, I would say, exactly 2 years of services as an Indian Administrative Services officer. Now, coming back to the topic of the day, which is challenges post getting into services, because most discussions happen around how to crack UPSC, how to get there. But I'm so glad when I basically saw the topic for the discussion, I was quite happy, excited about it, because I think we don't talk enough about, once you get into services, what exactly life looks like. A lot of people might have a lot of different ideas and views and imaginations about what the life of somebody who's into services. Services means he could be an IAS officer, an IPS officer, could be an IRS or IRTS, depending on what his or her service and cadre is. I would say a lot. So trying to answer the question is, I would say a lot depends on one's personality, his or her passion about what he or she would want to do once he or she has joined services. My practical experience has been a lot of people are very clear about getting into the services. Up to that point, they're very, very precise. Like, I want to crack IAS and I want to crack UPSC and get into good cadre, etc., etc., etc. But most of the time, don't get me wrong here, but I don't think many people have truly thought about what would they do once they get into services, or how would they want to see themselves, let's say 5 years down the line, 10 years down the line. Everybody's almost like, let me get into Lavasana first, and then life will take its own course because there is a system that will guide me through what to do, how to do, when to do, and what not to do. But I don't think that truly helps. When you get into services, you get into Lavasana, you do a very colorful, if not useful, training at Lavasana, and then you get into the dust pollution, the pulls and pressures of the job, which obviously you never have thought about, and the academy never prepares you for the real life pushes and pulls of the service, or any service. But the good news is, I think if you are clear that I would basically want to work for people who have no voice or whose voice is not heard, who are underprivileged, people who truly need administrative support, this job provides you immense opportunity. Now, to what extent you basically manage to capitalize on this opportunity or utilize this opportunity is up to an individual, and of course your boss. But most times my experience has been, as long as your intentions are good, as long as you have a clear plan about what you want to do, have a good discussion with your superiors, 99% of the times you will have their support, as long as it's for good reason. There are always times when it's not because your idea is bad or because they are not aligned with your basically thought process or your intentions per se. Sometimes you also have to think about how to time that right. So you have to take your superiors on board, you have to take your public representatives on board, and then of course you have to also ensure that public at large, what their expectations are. And then you have to find a middle ground somewhere through which you basically could start to deliver the goods and services which you thought you would when the question to you was asked in the UPSC interview, why do you want to join civil services? Sir, desh ki seva karna chahta. I want to serve my country. Services में join करने के बाद पता नहीं देश की कितनी सेवा करते हैं. I think most people get busy doing their own seva, which is unfortunate. The reason I'm telling you that the job can only provide you a canvas. Now, what you paint on it is entirely your choice. You basically can be very proactive and you can utilize your authority, your energy, your roles and responsibilities to help people. Or you could be like, well, this is all I wanted to do in my life, which is to become an IAS officer, an IPS officer, and get a gaadi with lal batti and staff and all that taam jam, etc., etc., etc. Or har 2 din mein post a picture on Instagram and Facebook and get like thousands of likes, and this is what I wanted out of my life. So that is one way of looking at it, and a lot of people end up doing that. Or you could say that this is a very rare opportunity. How many people truly get to basically get into services? I mean, as far as my statistics is concerned, more than 12 lakh people appear for free, or at least they fill up the form. And in proper IAS, only having 182 people manage to get into IAS. I can only speak for my service because IAS is a service, and I'm not comparing services here. Every service has its own charm. IAS definitely basically gives you the latitude where it gives you opportunity to contribute in a number of fields, be it education, be it health, be it infrastructure, be it childcare, be it basically maternal health, be it electricity, be it flood relief, drought relief, revenue, magistracy, law and order, you name it. Almost everything under the sun falls within your jurisdiction and within your roles and responsibilities. So the canvas is humongous. So if you feel passionate about, let's say I want to make a contribution in education sector, you have plenty of opportunity to make a difference in education. Similarly in health, similarly in land revenue issues. Because a lot of law and order issues emanate from unresolved or long pending land revenue property related disputes. And to resolve those disputes, the jurisdiction lies with the subdivision magistrate, SDM, or the district magistrate called the collector. So you have a say in almost every sphere of life which are important to you. So post UPSC, life is a huge canvas. As long as you have a clear plan, priorities, and some passion, I think you truly can make so much difference to so many lives that we have no idea. And I get to hear this from all the three postings I have been to. I was posted in Basti and I was subdivisional magistrate of a tehsil or subdivision, which is India's largest. It had a population of almost 15 lakh people. I was the first direct IAS who was posted in that tehsil because it was humongous. It has like 10 thanas and 7 blocks, and it was like really huge. And then there were 14,000 pending court cases in SDM court, because of which there was law and order situation every now and then. So I thought that will be my priority. So if I want to fix Haraiya or the subdivision under my control, I have to fix the revenue related, property related issues. Then everything else will automatically fall in line. So that's what I basically started to focus on. Similarly, after that, I started to focus on ensuring that the agriculture-related schemes reach to the intended beneficiaries. For example, the Krishi Samman Nidhi, for example, we have basically a very highly scientific center of technology development in agriculture sector in tie-up with Israel. Most of my district did not even know about it because it was mostly there were people who were well-educated, big farmers, only they were getting benefit out of it. So I wanted to ensure that even marginal farmers, low-income farmers, they also to get benefit from the facilities and technology which was available right at their doorstep. Similarly, then I found that there was a huge shortage of staff at the CHCs and PSCs. Like you did not have pharmacists, the doctors would not come on time or not on daily basis. So then I had a discussion with the district magistrate, and I had a great boss who is right now district magistrate of this district, Devariya, Ashutosh Nindya sir, 2010 batch IAS officer. And he was so extremely supportive. Most people are very supportive. It's just that you have to come up with an idea and present it to them and say, this is what I intend to do. This is what the clear plan looks like. Rather than Gyan. It's a desh badalna hai. Beta kaise badloge sir, wo nahi pata. But Bharat ek mahan desh hai. Kaise mahan hai sir, wo nahi pata, but Bharat ek mahan desh hai. So I have a clear plan. Because this is my plan. I have 7 blocks under me, and what I have seen is the blocks which are closer to the city area. Most of the staff is actually concentrated in those CSEs and PSUs. The far-flung areas do not have adequate staff. It's not that we don't have adequate staff across the district. It's just that it's not properly deployed or rationally deployed. And his word, Prem, okay, fine, then come up with a plan. You have explained the problems. So I was getting 2 files. It's like, this is the problem file and this is the solution file. And he was like, hey, I don't have to do anything. What do you need from me? I'm like, all I need is signatures. He's like, fine. So this is how basically you can make a difference. So the ownership is basically on you. The support system is there. People are truly willing to help you out as long as you present them with a practical plan. My life after joining UPSC has been extremely colorful, extremely satisfying. Having worked abroad for almost 9-10 years, and this is a question which often comes across as like, so was that a good decision? What was the right decision? You were in a very good job and then you left your job after so many years staying abroad, and you have so much kitchen services, and we have seen you on TV during this, that and all. And I think this was the best decisions I would have made after working in corporate for so long. I truly feel satisfied when I go back, after working for the, once I'm done with my day, and then when I go to sleep, then I basically start to reflect upon what have I done during the day. And I think 99% of the days I'm extremely satisfied with what I have been able to do. There have been issues, people have been waiting for 20 years, 30 years, and nobody is basically hearing them out. And just imagine the satisfaction of resolving that 20-year-old issue because of the fact that you visited that spot and you made the right decision, and maybe in 20 minutes, that 20-year-old issue could get resolved. And I'm not just joking, actually this does happen. And you were like, why was it stuck for the last 20 years? All it needed was a clear plan and good decision making. So I have been very happy. I have been blessed with having met with very, very good people in services and also good public representatives. And like any other job, this job too comes with its own pulls, pressures, and there are times when you might feel like, God, why are you doing this to me, or what have I done wrong? I mean, but that is, I think, true for any job, be it job of a civil servant, of an IAS officer, an IPS officer, or even when you're working in corporate sector. So apart from that, as long as basically you accept the realities of the job, this is a fantastic job. It gives you a lot of satisfaction because you can truly work at the ground level and you can deliver things which others can only talk about. So that has been my experience. My experience in education sector, my experience in health sector, my experience during management of pandemic, like Corona. When Corona hit in, I think it was March 2020, and I was still heading the subdivision of Haraya, which is so humongous. And that is like gateway to Eastern UP and Bihar. So every bus, every pedestrian, every immigrant labor would have to pass through that district. So the amount of rationing we had to manage, amount of healthcare facilities we had to manage, amount of quarantine facilities we had to manage, the law and order issues we had to manage. I don't think any other job would have given you that kind of exposure or opportunity to serve. या फिर जिसको देश की सच में सेवा करनी है, I don't think इससे बेटर प्लेटफॉर्म आपको सेवा करने का क्या मिलेगा. मतलब इंस्टाग्राम की रील्स बना के या यूट्यूब के शॉर्ट्स बना के या फोटो डाल के ये मेरे जूते देखो, मेरी साड़ी देखो, या फिर मेरा शर्ट देखो, पैंट देखो, that is not going to make a difference to people's lives. This will actually make a difference. Similarly, my posting in Hathras, there was a huge law and order issue that gave me immense exposure about how to manage large crowds, how to deal with media, how to deal with fake reporting. Because that was a great learning experience in terms of understanding and watching from close quarters that what is truth is not always reported. It's actually sensationalism, it's masala, it's what people want to hear, takes precedence over what the truth is. So that was the dark side of life which I had to experience. It's like the truth is so different, was so different. Mute your microphones, that'll be good. Krishna, microphone off कर लो दोस्त. है ना? Microphone off कर लो, बार-बार आवाज आती है तुम्हारी. So Chindoli is basically an aspirational district. Aspirational districts mean this is one of the most backward districts in the entire country. Leave UP aside. And that is giving me an extraordinary opportunity to work with people who are immensely affected with nationalism or left-wing extremism. I don't think any other job would give me that. I still basically go to villages and find they don't have
Okay.
No, you're not audible.
Okay, please be patient, everyone. I guess we lost connection with sir. So until he joins back, I request everyone to please mute yourself and let the decorum of the meeting be maintained. Revati, I guess there's some issue from his side, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, it's okay.
yeah.
Hello, can you guys hear me?
Yes, so we can hear you. There was a glitch for some time.
Okay, fine. I think you're back. Yeah. So that has been my experience. So I think this is a wonderful job. I think people should take it in its stride. There will be times when you feel very happy about the way things are going, and of course there will be times like everything else in life wherein you might feel a little puzzled, perplexed, stuck, nervous, depressed, and thinking what will happen next. But I think as long as your intentions are good, there is always a way out of every situation. So that's pretty much, I would say, crux of what I've experienced so far. Now, if you guys have any questions, I'll be more than happy to take those questions.
So thank you so much, sir, for your encouraging words. And now to take the session forward, I call upon Revati. Thank you.
Thank you, Muskan, and a very good evening to you, sir. So, yeah. I'll take over the questions now, and before that, you have a huge base of admirers who follow you and look up to you. Audience who registered for this session has asked a wide range of questions. So we had to pick, but we had to pick only questions related to the topic of the session, which is life after selection, challenges before the civil servant. And audience, please type your queries in the chat box on Google Meet and also on YouTube Live. We'll pick it up from there. So the first question, sir, is we know that you've had a few questions you've already answered in the speech. So I recently read a book which was on bureaucracy written by retired IAS M.K. Kaur, which unraveled the complexities behind the blotless white screen that we as aspirants aspire upon. It highlights the effects of politics on the bureaucratic decisions. And sitting in the comfort of our homes, we have all but a faint idea as to why sometimes bureaucrats are called political puppets. So the question is politics actually too strong to engulf the values of the civil servant, or is it like a stumbling block or a hurdle that every civil servant has to face? And how do you tackle that?
Well, I think that's a good question, and I don't think there's an easy answer to that question. But I'll still tell you this: you have different forms of government, and as somebody has said, I forgot his or her name, but democracy may not be the perfect form of government, but still is probably the best form of governance we have available out there. So this is not perfect. It has different stakeholders. It has, obviously, at the center of it is the common population. Then, of course, you have bureaucracy. You obviously have public representatives because they are elected by the public or chosen by the public. And everybody has their own interests. I'll be very honest. Everybody has their own interests. Even in public, for example, let's say I visit a village, right? So you would right? So the village needs a drain, and I go out there. I think it's a very simple solution. There is a huge water, drainage issue. So a drainage needs to be constructed, and then you will have two other groups basically rushing at you, and it's like, no, sir, the drain should not be constructed because of this has done this, and he did not allow that, so we would not allow this. So just imagine, you cannot have a coherent, uniform thought process, even in a small unit called a village, even in a family. Let's say there are 4 people. Like the kids might have their own opinion, your mother might have her own opinion, your father might have his own opinion, the uncles might have their own opinion, you, of course, would have your own opinion. Small trivial issues. So tell me a system which is perfect, wherein, one says and everybody agrees to it every single time. Not possible. That is the case with democracy. You have all these important stakeholders. जिसमें bureaucracy एक important stakeholder है, of course. Then public representatives, obviously, because they are the people who got mandate from the people to govern this country. So they will have their own thought process, style of thinking. They also have their compulsions. A lot of times, we experience it on daily basis, wherein if you think about the issue, everybody knows what the logical solution is. Let's say there is an illegal encroachment. So even the public representatives exactly know this is illegal, it needs to be removed. But then he also knows if I support this removal of illegal encroachment, I'm going to lose votes. Because his existence is based on the number game, not ours. And then there is dynamics around judiciary also. A lot of times you kind of like, no, this is the right thing to be done, but then people in judiciary, they may not agree. They may sometimes have a lot of understanding of the field issues. A lot of times they may have limited understanding of how exactly things basically work in field. And just imagine in a country like India, where so much dynamics play. So even for regular decisions, you have all these stakeholders who have a say or interest in every decision which is being taken. So is, I would say, political class an impediment? I wouldn't think so. But I think a good bureaucrat is, who basically tries to bring all of these competing thoughts in people and their own priorities together and tries to find a middle path. There will be times wherein you will be able to basically find a way out of a situation. But of course, there will be times when even though all the parties involved have exact understanding of what the logical legal solution is, but then because of the competing priorities in their mind, it could be elections, it could be judicial or something else, or their own personal interests, they may still have a different approach. They may still have a different voice. And I think I would agree with the book you just mentioned that I don't think common people honestly have even 5% of the understanding of how truly the decision making happens at the bureaucratic political level. 99.99% of the population get to read through newspapers, oh, this happened in the district. But I don't think they have any idea, even a faint idea, of what all has gone and how that decision has been arrived at. किसी का कोई इंटरेस्ट होगा, कोई बोलेगा इसको कॉन्ट्रैक्ट मिलना चाहिए, दूसरा बोलेगा नहीं इसको नहीं, इसको मिलना चाहिए. फिर और भी बहुत सारे कंपल्शंस हैं, उसमें रिलीजियस कंपल्शंस आ जाते हैं, बहुत बार कास्ट कंपल्शंस come in, then temperament compulsions also come in. Some people are accommodating because they understand that there's a give and take, and some people are very, very rigid. So a large number of stakeholders, and that's why the decision making in India is so slow. That's why the bureaucracy is blamed for it. But I would say it's not just the bureaucracy, the way Indian democracy is basically designed. What a bureaucrat can do on his or her own? Not much, really. Because then there is a big chain of command above him or her, even of an IAS. Like, most people know IAS as collectors or district magistrate DMs. But that, I would say, is the very initial level in your career. There is such a humongous bureaucratic level which exists above you. Like, you have your commissioner, you have your special secretaries, then you will have secretaries, then you will have your principal secretaries, then you have your additional chief secretaries, and then, of course, chief secretary is the head of the state. And then, parallelly, you have a humongous political setup. And then you have people's expectations. And people's expectations are also not coherent. One section will have one set of expectation. It could be because of the profession they are in. It could be because of the caste they belong to. It could be because of the religion they belong to. Or it could be because of the interest which is involved in that particular decision. So it's never a simple situation, even for very simple issues. Like, today I visited almost 10, 11 villages. And most of the cases, you exactly know what is the right logical solution. But then you will have different groups, you will have different public representatives attached to those groups who, because of political compulsion, have no choice but to basically watch the voice of the interested groups. So it's a complex setup. The decisions which come out, that's why a lot of times decisions are either not made or they are made after long delays. Because trying to balance this out, and then, as an officer, you are like, why the hell should I make so much effort? Because it's not going to affect me. I mean, why will I basically convince the politicians, the bureaucrats, the stakeholders, if they themselves don't want it or don't want this to happen? So this is the complexity of the real life after joining IPS, and spending a colorful, wonderful time in Labasna. Real life is so very different. But is it unmanageable? I don't think so. I think 80% of the situation, there's always a way out. 15-20% situations might get complex. You might have to work a little harder to basically arrive at a decision, but eventually there's always some or the other way to progress things on. That's probably a long answer to the complex question you asked.
No, sir, not long, but insightful, intriguing, and obviously complex, as you say. So, as one point you mentioned in your this answer was that Indian democracy is designed in such a way that the decision making is slow. So, do you think that at any point, or there are ways that we can redesign this democracy so that it suits the Indian purpose, but also the decision making is quick and rapid?
But I think it's a good thought, because it's an obvious follow-up question. Is like, so if you think something is broken, why not fix it? But it's broken deliberately to maybe serve the interest of the people who might be in position to fix it. So why will you fix it if fixing it could be detrimental to your own interest? So the least I say, the better it is. So you understand my message.
Yes, sir. Yes, I do understand what you say.
I should be. Yeah, so have you been good at fixing it? I don't think so. You take the example of the police reforms. It was 1996 when the case was filed by Prakash Singh, ex-DGP UP, to bring police reforms in. 2006, Supreme Court basically passed a very landmark judgment. It has been, Supreme Court judgment, imagine, it has been 15 long years. Those recommendations are not implemented. And there are a lot of other issues, like judicial reforms have not happened in this country for a long, long time.
Okay. And so the judgments are also slow because judiciary is almost working on its only on its 50% capacity. A few days back, I read in the newspaper how vacancies are there, but since years, and people are not appointed. So let's go to the next question.
So let me ask you.
Yeah.
Let me ask you knowledge on there. So you said they are not, because they have been working with 50% of their capacities for last year and a half. That's why they have not been able to deliver. So let me ask you a question. What was the situation before March 2020, before Corona hit the country?
So I have no idea.
Indian judiciary had a pendency of. I'll give the answer also. Indian judiciary has been ranked as one of the slowest judiciaries across the globe. I hope the High Court does not hold me in contempt for stating what I'm saying, but this is the truth. There have been a lot of articles, even on my YouTube channel, if you go, I have a very elaborate lecture on judicial reforms. And it's not a hidden fact. It has been brought by so many different chief justices and a lot of other eminent people. Like 4 crore court cases were pending at different levels of history, even before the pandemic hit, and the judiciary was working with all its might and full capacity. The average time it takes for disposal of a very regular case in India is about 15 long years. So everybody wants to fix the other, but not themselves.
Yes, true.
That's the problem.
Yeah. Okay. So the next question is, like, as aspirants, we can only presume your position. And as you said, that 99.9% people do not know how the decisions are being taken. We just read a headline in the newspaper that this decision has been taken. And it is a golden opportunity for us to know what it is like to be on the other side of the table. And you personally have 1 million hearts, and you've won the media approval for a great deal of work that you've undertaken in the 3 postings that you've had up till now. Your rapidity in solving land dispute, encroachment, illegal construction, food adultery cases, and raids on hospitals during COVID-19 to ensure the general faith and the fairness. You've also taken a dig at red tapeism through your Nyaya Aapke Dwar Tak scheme. All in all, you've left no stone unturned. But at the same time, as you mentioned, you became the relentless center of media allegations as the SDM of Hathras during September 2020, during the infamous Hathras gang rape and murder case. And the mystery still lingers in the air. I know questions like this must have been asked to you all the time, but still, is you're already spending your the last cell of your brain in one of the most delicate grounds. On the top of that, media is looming to discover the truth. And so like from your experience, how do you think the fourth pillar of democracy affects you as a bureaucrat? Do you feel accountable to the media trials?
So that brings us to another very important custodian, or supposed to be custodian of Indian democracy, or any democracy per se. Indian media, the great Indian media. What do you guys think? I mean, what are they interested in? Do you find the way media has been behaving over the last 5-10 years? Any of the media houses, are they truly interested in finding the truth behind any of the events, including the Hathras case? Or it's more about TRPs and commercialization and which show gets ranked first and whatnot?
So
are they truly news bulletins anymore? They have become more like, masala papad type of news bulletins. But except news, you get to see every other thing. I mean, news channels have become full-time entertainment centers. You basically there are a lot of people who have now started to turn to YouTube channels and whatnot to basically understand the issues. Because you turn your TV on and all you see is noise and shouting and screaming and use of slangs on your TV screen. Those guys have zero understanding and have Hathras case. People may have very different opinions, a range of different opinions, because I don't think any one of you know what exactly happened. So in this conversation, except me, nobody else knows what actually happens or what actually happened. All I can tell you, whatever you saw on media, 99% of it was fake, wrong, false reporting. Just to basically sensationalize the issue. Because that is what would be sold in the market. That's what people want to hear. Media is what? Media is a reflection of the society. So that's what you want. You want to turn your TV on for 5 minutes and all you want is, the bureaucracy is being bashed, the politicians are being bashed, and you're like, wow, revenge taken. And then you're back on your Instagram and your Facebook and your WhatsApp, and it's like, I have done my duty towards my nation for the day. I'll go happy, visit a mall and watch a movie with my friends. Let this bureaucrats suffer. I mean, because every one of them is corrupt. This is what they truly deserve. It is media who can truly hold them accountable. So is it media who basically builds drainage, electricity, schools, healthcare centers, ration, roads, bridges? I don't think so. Or are they the ones who maintain law and order? Even in Hathras case, I'll tell you, even though I should not be speaking because the matter is sub judice, but a lot of media houses used to fly from Delhi to Hathras because it is right on the expressway. They'll have a nice pizza in the morning and they just drive down through the expressway, zooming to Hathras like this is the big story. And after shouting and screaming, after 2 or 3 hours, they'll eventually find out what the truth is. And then they'll come quietly close to you and say, sir, the truth seems to be very different from what we thought it is. So I'm like, now have the courage to show it to your viewers. Sorry, sir, we can't do that because that will be a big upheaval in the entire system. I mean, you thought that you joined journalism to basically bring truth to the people. So do that. Nobody's interested. Everybody has their own agenda. Media, like a lot of other things, is highly commercialized, very competitive. All they are interested is in their TRPs or their affiliations, political or otherwise. when it comes to truly finding the reality of it, even after Hathras, before Hathras, I understood that no one is interested. Truly, no one is interested. Common people do not even know where to go to find authentic information about anything these days, because everything is so biased and sold out. So that is the truth about the so-called fourth pillar of Indian politics. I don't think my media friends would like me for what I've said, but I say it on the face. I'm like, you're all sold out. Most of you are sold out. There are a lot of good media people too, but they are very rare these days. Even maybe in the print media, but when it comes to electronic media, television media, my God, I don't know where we are heading with this.
Yeah, yes, sir, true that. And I think I will not, like, the stereotype I have in my mind is that all the private media channels have, as you said, a competition commercialization system for their TRP, and the one state mouthpiece that we have has another agenda, that is to promote the state. So the truth is lost in the journey to find the truth. Okay. So this takes me to my next question. So, like, you've received trainings in 2 different academies.
I'll simply give an example. Even a Hathras scale, I quote the example. Just imagine, media does not have any understanding of anything, most times, except a few good journalists. Even in Hathras scale, the role of an SDM is not in the crime. Like, for example, if a crime happens, it is the role and responsibility of the police, not of the magistrate or SDM. SDM job is, if anything happens which could actually create a large-scale law and order situation. So it is because he heads the law and order in his or her area of jurisdiction to make sure that it does not escalate into a much. It is a question which police is responsible for. Second thing, everybody has been arrested already. They are in custody. They should be shot. They should be hanged. I'm like, maybe we should shut the courts down. We should shut the judicial process down. And maybe the media should tell us, like, in the morning, go all to be shot by the evening, and we do it in the evening and go home and sleep.
Okay, I think we again lost Sir, right? He isn't audible, Revati?
Yeah, he's not audible.
Okay, so maybe you could please request him to repeat, because many of us, I'm sure, wouldn't have understood what he said, right?
And the judicial process.
Sir, we can hear you back. Now we can hear you.
Yeah. So that's my take on media. They want everything like now.
Sir, I'm sorry to say, but you have some network issues, and again, we cannot hear you. Yes, so we can hear you now.
Yeah, so that's pretty much all I had to say on Indian media. Next question.
Okay, thank you, sir. So the next question, as I was saying, is that you've received training in 2 different academies. Like, first you started in with the IRS, so that is a specialized job where you were receiving training, and then you came to IAS, where, as you also mentioned in your speech, that it covers almost everything under the sun. So, do you think this service needs to be specialized, or is it meant to be the way it is, and it is more beneficial the way it is working, like multitasking, all at the same time?
Well,
Yeah.
so that's a very good question. It's a very difficult one. So when I was preparing for UPSC, I had a very clear answer to that question. In fact, that question was asking me during my UPSC interview as well. It was like, well, you were working abroad for so many years, and why are you now thinking of basically coming into, public services? And I was like, sir, because I think I want to work at ground level, and I want to serve my country, and the answers you generally give. And they were like, I'm interested in, like, in in IAS, or basically we just give you maybe joint secretary in Ministry of Petroleum because you are in oil and gas sector for so long already? And I was like, no, sir, I'm not interested in just a sarkari job, but I am interested in basically, working at the ground level in health, education, etc., etc. And they were like, right. So what's your take about generalist versus specialist debate? Where do you think where we should be heading and where the future lies? And I was like, okay, so here's the trap, because I just said I was in a specialist service. I want to switch to a more generalist service. But the answer to that question, academic answer to that question is, sir, it has to be, of course, the future belongs to specialists, not to generalists. Like, what people want to hear is IAS have ruined the country. If you tell this to people, they'll be like, yes, exactly, that's the right answer. And only specialists can fix this country. So I thought that was easy answer. But after joining services, I don't think answer is easy. Because a lot of times I believe, for example, my job profile, what kind of specialist would you bring in to do the job I do? So I basically do education, I do law and order, I do health, I do roads, I do electricity, I do policing, I do illegal encroachment. I also do mandis, agriculture related work. I also do development authority. I also do revenue. So what specialist would you bring in to fill the position I am working in? I could not find an answer. Police, very clear. You need specialization. Income tax, specialization.
Sir, why is not clear?
No, it is absolutely clear.
दोस्त अपना फोन बदल लो या ईयरफोन लगा लो.
Sir.
So,
okay, sir.
Income tax, you clearly basically need specialists. Customs, you definitely need specialists. Railways, you definitely need specialists. But administration, you might need specialists beyond a certain point. Once you spend, let's say, 20 years in your service, and now you are like, let's say, principal secretary health. So you got to have good exposure of health, right? But are you saying for first 20 years when you're in field, what kind of specialization? So let's say they train you in education. Fine, you are an educator, you're specialized in education, but how about 19 other fields you are still responsible for? So if somebody tells me that specialization is the answer for an administrator, I don't think so. Just think about managers. What is a good manager? Who is a good manager? A good manager is somebody who can basically do 2 + 2 is 4 the fastest. I don't think so. A good manager is a person who basically is good at identifying issues, resources to work those issues out and deliver on those issues. So my job is not to basically go with a inch tape in my hands and measure the length and breadth of a field. That's not my job. My job is also not to basically go in hospitals and then, start dressing and operate. And that's not my job. My job is also not to go into schools and start teaching on the blackboard. I got humongous staff to do that. Similarly, my job is also not to fix electrical lines because some transformer got short circuit somewhere. So the answer to your question is, it's very easy to say, particularly people who have zero field exposure, specialization is the panacea to every ill in this country. But how will you practically do that? You still will have to fill positions of district magistrate. Now, district magistrate is responsible for everything. Everything. So what kind of specialist would you make sit in the chair of a collector or a district magistrate? If somebody can answer that question, I'll say, yeah, specialist is the way. So administration, I don't think specialization is practical. I think there could be a reasonable middle path, which is first 20 years you do your field services, which is more generalist. And then for last 10 years, 15 years, then you might be given, let's say, 3 or different 4 choices. It's like, pick up your top 3 priority areas wherein you would want to spend next decade or so that we can train you in those areas. So that once from field you get into policy making, in policy making you certainly do need specialization. Because you have gained enough field exposure. Now, let's say you make a specialist sit in the chair of SDM or subdivision magistrate or magistrate. Let's say a doctor. because health is a big problem in Chindomi. So he is going to run around with stethoscope everywhere. But Chindomali, he does not have only health issues. There are education issues, there are road issues, there are flood issues, there are pandemic issues, there are huge law and order issues, Naxal issues. Can a doctor fix that? No. Can a teacher fix those issues? Of course not. Can a police guy fix those issues? No. Can a scientist fix those issues? Clearly not. So you do need generalists at the field positions. But then, after maybe 20 years, you might be asked to fill up your top 3, top 5 priorities and say, these are the areas I am interested in. And then your specialization or certain degree of specialization might start from there. Now, correlating that with private companies, having worked in private companies for so long, a lot of CEOs come from sectors of basically areas of specialization with which your company may not have anything. Financial sectors, a lot of time call their CEOs from automobile sector, for example. Now, financial sector is the company, CEO is coming from automobile, let's say Ford or this, not exactly match. So, one needs to appreciate the fact that the job of a manager is to manage the human resources available at his or her disposal, is not to go and examine patients or teach in the schools or pick up a shovel and then fix the road. That is not your job. There are specialized departments to do that. Your job is to ensure that you get the job done through the departments who are actually specially responsible for those pieces of work. So that's the answer to your question.
Thank you, sir. I think we need 90 people on one chair to manage, and you're doing the work of those 90 people. And also, you sounded like a little bit business studies student while you were telling describing about management.
This is what it is. A lot of people, honestly, a lot of people, even ARC has recommended specialization and all, and I just, I said in my interview when I scored 198, which was I think 6th highest in India, I said, so specialization is the future. Look at Canada, look at US, look at UK. They're like, yeah, right answer. Then I got into this job and I'm like, no, it's just not possible.
Okay, sir. Sir, as you mentioned that you're doing so much on the ground level. So can you, after selection, can you make a little time out for your friends, your family, and your time to de-stress yourself from those administration tensions? Can you make time out?
I think, so a lot of people, I also have a debate around what should be work style. In my view, a work style should be multitasking, wherein if you have, so how can you do your job properly? You can do your job properly only if you have planned your day properly and your resources properly. Otherwise, you might be a very good doctor, but not a good manager. You might be a very good teacher, but might not be a good manager. So, is it possible to take time out for your personal life, your family, etc., etc.? Definitely yes, as long as you plan it right. Like I do manage to not enjoy so much because there are no sports facilities here, but in Atlas I used to play for 1.5 hours every morning. I used to wake up at 7, then 8:30 I just go and play badminton and tennis, and then I just I'll get cracking with my work. I come back at let's say 7 or 8, and then I have dinner with my family, watch a movie with them, and go to bed. And then maybe every second Sunday you could basically book for your family. Like on that Sunday, I'm not going to go out in the field, and I'd rather spend family with my kids and my wife and my family, etc., etc. So you need to plan it out. You will. A lot of people like something is. It's not enough time. Like you play, you go out in the field, and then you make YouTube videos, and you run your channel, and you are on social media. Everything is possible as long as you plan it right. So when I joined corporate sector, my first posting was with a company called Schlumberger, some people call it. It's a French company, and that is like world's largest oil field service company. And they have this concept: if you have spent enough in the upfront planning, the execution goes butter smooth, which is so rare. So I am like very clear. Next 3 days, what my top priorities are. where I need to send Tehsildar, where I need to send my SHO or the police guy, where I need to send my CO, where I need to send my NAB Tehsildar, where I need to send my Patwaris, where I need to send my teachers and doctors. And these are three difficult, complex issues. I need to go visit those places myself, because without me visiting those issues, they may probably not get resolved. So everybody is very clear about what they are supposed to be doing over the next 3-4 days. So even without asking me, next morning they are very clear, sir has assigned these 3 tasks to me, I need to deliver them by end of tomorrow, and that's pretty much it. And these are 3 complex issues. He himself is going to come, so better we prepare for that, because he will come and he's going to ask questions and is going to, hold people accountable. And then everything just automatically, the machine starts to deliver. So the machine is very it's capable. All you need somebody to basically drive it.
Okay, sir. Next question is this is a social welfare job. India is a mixed economy, and these services are, as we call them, civil servants. So we do it for social welfare purpose, but we are seeing an inclination towards the economy becoming a capitalist economy. So do you think there will be effects on your job, or how will it change the civil services if economy is capitalist?
But I don't think civil services, so let's say America is probably the brightest star of being a capitalist economy. Do you think there is no bureaucracy in America? So do you have any idea when the president changes in the US, how many new civil servants he or she brings with him or herself? Almost 4,200. So does not matter what kind of economy you are, you still need the nuts and bolts of administration in place. Even to basically make sure that the capitalist economy is working the way you intend it to work, and law and order is there, you have defense, you have foreign relations, then you have basically delivery of public goods and services. The players might change, but you still need hands on the deck. Now, the president himself is not going to come and basically distribute ration or make sure the schools are working as per the rules and regulations. It is the bureaucracy who is basically going to ensure that rules are followed and things move forward. So I'm not too sure this will actually have an impact. It certainly would have an impact upon the way bureaucracy has been behaving. As the dependency of people reduces on the bureaucracy, then the relevance of bureaucracy starts to go down. Let's take an example of Mumbai, for example. मुंबई में आप जाके किसी से पूछोगे कि मैं IAS हूं, तो बोले क्या होते हैं IAS? They won't even know and they don't even care. Chindoli में आप बोलोगे I am an IAS officer, they'll be like, oh my god, it's the god. So as countries progress, dependency of people on the government basically reduces. Automatically the bureaucracy's pivotal position will erode away gradually on its own without doing anything to it. And people who will be quick at adapting their mindset and their thought process according to this change, which is inevitable, better for them, otherwise they'll be left behind and will become obsolete.
Thank you, sir. And this takes me to our last question. It's a question very basic that you have with all the workload that you have in your life. How do you deal with days which are hopeless or motivationless, or like even after selection and during the preparation before selection, when you faced a lot of criticism, no one was supporting you? How did you cope up with that?
Well, I think the name of the game to deal with any situation, including Hatra's situation, is emotional intelligence. A lot of people asking the question when Chitra Tripathi was basically asking a lot of questions why I was not answering back, or a lot of people is like, so you should have answered back. I'm like, exactly not, because that's what she wanted me to do. She was provoking me. She wanted me to make a mistake, say something, utter something. And I am not going to give it to her. Emotional intelligence. Yeah, so there are days when you start to feel like this is just getting over my nerves. Calm down. Like when I feel stressed, I go for a run, 5 kilometers, 10 kilometers. I'll sweat it out. And then I come back home like all drenched in the sweat, and I'm like, yeah. So, जो काम करने गया था शायद वो to my satisfaction नहीं हुआ, लेकिन at least I had a good run today. So I derive my satisfaction from that. And tomorrow is a different day. Let's figure out कि क्या गड़बड़ हुई आज, किसने बदमाशी करी, उनको फिक्स किया जाए, उन चीजों को फिक्स किया जाए. So rather than आके वो रोना शुरू कर देना, ये भगवान क्या हो गया, do a proper technical scientific analysis. These were the 3 things I think I did not do that well, or these are the people I haven't spoken to, or these are the things which I did not think about or plan about. And then after 3 days, I'm going to reattempt with a new plan, fixing the gaps which I had during my first execution. तब तक मैं थोड़ा दौड़ भाग लेता हूँ, good for my health, and it will basically stress me out. But emotional intelligence, कभी ये नहीं सोचना चाहिए this is the end of the tunnel. यार ठीक है, you go out there to basically do 100 different things. हो सकता है you might be able to deliver on 80-85% of them, 15%, 10%. You might not be that good at it. That's how life is. Derive your satisfaction from the fact कि यार 85% तो कर दिया ना, अब जान लोगे क्या? So that's the answer.
Okay. Yeah, it is inspiring, and we will sweat it out the next time we face those days. So, sir, by this we come to the end of the session. And would you like to say, give us a peace of mind in the end?
Yeah, all I have to say, I can give a lot of Baba type gyan about, देश की सेवा करना और ये करना और वो करना. I'm not going to do any of that. All I'm going to tell you is do whatever you want to do and be the best at it. Give your 100% to it. A lot of times.
Sir, can I please ask a question?
Yeah, Rishabh, sure, you can ask a question. No, Rishabh, no. Who is asking the question?
So whoever it is, he's no more in the meeting.
Okay, all right. So I think that was his plan. He was dialogue market for Nikal. So
Last question, sir.
Yeah, I think I'll have to leave, so I'll basically wrap up with the fact that don't get too stressed about life. Be it your preparation. बहुत ज़्यादा ज्ञानी लोगों से मैं तो generally दूर ही रहता हूँ. Because of the fact, even when I started UPSC preparation, a lot of people said कि नहीं, it takes at least 4-5 attempts to basically get through it. पहला साल तो syllabus समझने में लग जाता है. Including my own family. What an idiot you are after being out of touch for 10 years from your studies. आप कलेक्टर बनोगे, पता है कलेक्टर क्या होता है? नहीं पता, बट पता कर लेंगे. Now let's find it out. You will always find the people. You will always find the people, and I don't think you should be too bothered, by such people about what they think of you, what they say about you, about your capabilities, or your thought process, your aspirations. Do what you want to do. Like I had this strong hunch that I have spent time abroad and I want to go back to my country and basically try. If I fail, fine. At least later during the life, I won't have that regret that I did not try. What if तुक्का लग जाता? क्या पता जो रटा होता उसी में से 2 क्वेश्चन आ जाते, तो दिया. और as the luck would have it, भगवान ने जो जैसे बोलते हैं ना, कायनात पूरा प्लान बना ली थी, वो एक फर्जी सा डायलॉग का पिक्चर होगा. तो there is always a plan for everybody. So जो माने do that. कभी लाइफ में there will be ups and highs, there will be ups and downs. हो सकता है कि मेरा ट्विटर, मेरा इंस्टाग्राम देख के आपको लगता होगा यार इसकी क्या लाइफ है, पहले विदेश घूम के आ गया, फिर अब IAS बन गया, दिन भर ये करता है वो करता है, दुनिया भर के फॉलोअर्स है, भगवान ऐसी जिंदगी मुझे दे दे. लेकिन आपको सिर्फ वो फेस वो दिखाई देता है जो मैं दिखाना चाहता हूँ. You don't get to see what goes behind it or the other side of the coin. तो सबके साथ there are issues in everybody's life. कोई भी कितना भी बड़ा तीसरा. So इसीलिए आपकी लाइफ में issues हैं. Don't feel too bogged down with them. Try and emerge from them with a clear plan. कि ठीक है, पिछली बार यहाँ गड़बड़ होगी. This is my plan to fix those issues, and I'm just going to keep moving in that direction. I wanted to move and achieve what I wanted to achieve. So that's pretty much from me. I wish everybody all the very best in their lives.
Can I ask a question, please?
Okay, Rishabh, it's 6:50. Yeah, fine, sure.
सर मतलब मेरा एक क्वेश्चन स्ट्रैटेजी रिलेटेड है सर। इकोनॉमिक्स और ज्योग्राफी के बुक लिस्ट तो आपके मैंने देख लिए थे यूट्यूब चैनल पे, पर सर उनके वीडियोस क्या आप बता सकते हैं कि मृणाल सर के जो चैनल में जो है उनसे क्या फुल कवरेज मिल जाएगा? एक्चुअली मैंने कोचिंग नहीं लिया तो इसलिए मैं कुछ फ्री यूट्यूब से आपके वीडियो से मतलब मैं देखता रहता हूँ करंट अफेयर्स, तो मतलब इसीलिए मैं पूछ रहा हूँ कि बुक लिस्ट है बट वीडियो मेरे को ये जानना था कि मृणाल सर का आपको आइडिया है क्या कि मुझे कवरेज?
हाँ, thank you, Rishabh. That's a very relevant question क्योंकि it's a practical question, UPSC preparation related. See, मृणाल सर की जो पहले के वीडियोस थे, when I prepared for 2017 और 2016 में एग्जाम दिया, तो उस वक्त के उनके वीडियोस मतलब honestly you ask me, मैंने मृणाल सर की वीडियोस बहुत नहीं देखी. For some reason I had this hunch कि मुझे economy is something which is very close to my heart, मुझे खुद को पढ़नी है. मैंने रमेश सिंह की जो किताब है सिर्फ उसी पर रेफर किया. लेकिन 99% पॉपुलेशन का कहना है कि मृणाल सर के वीडियोस बहुत अच्छे हैं इकोनॉमी के और कंप्लीट हैं. लेकिन इकोनॉमी में आप ये बात समझ लीजिए, इकोनॉमी स्टैटिक सब्जेक्ट नहीं है. तो 2016 के या 2017 के जो सर के वीडियोस होंगे, 17, 18, 19, 3-4 साल में इकोनॉमी उस पर बहुत सारी चीजें चेंज हो गई. तो वो हो सकता है पुराने वीडियो. अच्छा, एंशिएंट हिस्ट्री के आप वीडियोस आज से 10 साल बाद भी देखोगे तो एंशिएंट हिस्ट्री तो एंशिएंट हिस्ट्री रहेगी, ज्योग्राफी ही रहेगी, उसमें क्या बदलने वाला है. मेडिवल हिस्ट्री रहेगी. बट इकोनॉमी में ऐसा नहीं. सो मेरा एडवाइस रहेगा कि जस्ट गार्ड अगेंस्ट दैट. एक बार सर के वीडियोस तो बहुत अच्छे सोर्स है ही है, एवरीबॉडी रेफर्स टू देम और ही हैज अर्नड सच ए नेम फॉर हिमसेल्फ. बट जस्ट बी केयरफुल विद द फैक्ट कि ऐसा या तो आपको 2020 के 2021 के लेटेस्ट वीडियो सर के मिल जाएं सो दैट इट कैन बी इंश्योर्ड कि वो आउटडेटेड नहीं हुए हैं. लेकिन अगर पुराने वीडियोस हैं तो बी माइंडफुल ऑफ द फैक्ट कि ऐसा ना हो उसमें से कुछ चीजें 3-4 साल में चेंज हो गई हो जो उन टॉपिक्स में कवर ना हो.
थैंक यू वेरी मच सर.
हाँ, और ज्योग्राफी के वीडियोस कई लोगों ने मुझे नाम प्रोनाउंसिएशन पर टोका भी है. रतंजलि मैम है या जो भी मैम.
हाँ, जो भी राजस्थानी मैम.
हाँ, समझ गए ना तुम दोस्त, अपन वी आर द सेम फ्रीक्वेंसी. तो YouTube पे मुझे लगता है ज्योग्राफी का उससे अच्छा कोई मटेरियल हो ही नहीं सकता. मतलब मैंने ये लियोंग फियोंग ये फर्जी वाला कुछ नहीं किया. आई जस्ट यूज्ड टू वॉच अ वीडियोस और उनकी जो प्रेजेंटेशन.
थैंक यू वेरी मच सर. यही डाउट थे सर और आपके वीडियोस बहुत अच्छे लगते. थैंक यू सर.
थैंक यू ऋषभ, अप्रिशिएट.
Thank you so much, sir, for being here. And I must say that it was one of the most interactive and most amazing sessions that Buniyaad has had. And I would like to thank you on behalf of our President Vamsi Krishna, who cannot be here because of some immediate emergency, and also on behalf of the whole team of Buniyaad. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, everybody. Have a good day.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you,
Thank you,
sir.
sir.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Ma'am, my first apologies, ma'am. In this COVID-19.
Ma'am, what will be on next session?
बुनियाद keeps on having regular sessions. Regular session होते रहते हैं बुनियाद के किसी न किसी ऑफिसर के साथ. तो बुनियाद के जिस भी ग्रुप में हैं आप उससे जुड़े रहिए और सारी इन्फॉर्मेशन आपको वहीं पे मिलेगी. इंस्टाग्राम पे भी हमारा हैंडल है और इंस्टाग्राम पे जाके फॉलो करिए, वहाँ पे भी सारी इन्फॉर्मेशन मिलती रहेगी. धन्यवाद.
मैम एक बार ग्रुप में लिंक सेंड कर दीजिए. लिंक
ठीक है.
थैंक यू मैम.
उर्वशी या कोई यहाँ चैट बॉक्स में भी इंस्टाग्राम का लिंक डाल दो.
Thank you very much for joining, everyone. You all may leave now.